At Comics and Comics, we have a segment where we like to give an opinion about something. And if you've ever read any fanboy post on any message board anywhere, you know why we call this segment. But let's face it, two movies based on properties created by Marvel Comics will be coming out in 2012. The Amazing Spider-Man and The Avengers. These are two very different types of projects, not only in the kind of movies they will be, but in the type of business models they represent. One is a reboot that is occurring just 10 years after the franchise was started and less than 5 years after the last entry in the Spider-Man series. The other is a sequel, but a very unusual sequel. The Avengers is a sequel to at least 5 different movies: Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, The Incredible Hulk, and Captain America. I can't think of any project like it, at least a movie project like it. In comic books, you see this all the time. Indeed, crossovers and universe expanding is a part of what made Marvel Comics so successful in the first place. The new Disney-owned Marvel should want to see all of its movies rake it in at the box office. But let's face it, there's at least a small part of Disney that would like to see the rebooted Spider-Man be a giant hit and the Avengers flop. I know that sounds crazy, but let me explain. Hollywood's goal is to be able to pay artists as little as possible. That's the official job title of just about everyone who wears a suit in Hollywood. The unfortunate truth is that they sometimes have no choice but to pay artists lots of money. Unfortunate for them, that is. This bothers them greatly. Any form of artistic content that is being made for profit is a risk, usually a big risk. Most movies are not a hit and most lose money. One way to decrease risk is to make a movie that is a sequel to something that already made money. In the 80s, the formula that a sequel would make at least 60% of the movie that came before it was a pretty reasonable bet. Therefore, the 80s saw a spike in sequels. The problem with sequels is that although the risk is less, when you bring the cast and director back, you've got to pay them more. By the time the third or fourth movie rolls around, the salaries and back-end deals deeply cut into the studio's profits. That's what happened with Spider-Man 3 and the aborted Spider-Man 4. And that's where reboots come in. Reboots bring all of the security of a name brand of a franchise without the annoying distribution of the gross. For Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire got $15 million plus 7.5% of the back end. For the reboot, a relative unknown Andrew Garfield was cast in the title role. But don't confuse the non-star choice with risk-taking on new talent. The reason they went with Mr. What's-His-Name is so they could pay him less than the prize money Peter Parker won for beating Crusher Hogan in the wrestling match. You think Marvel Studios doesn't like to put actors in their place? Tell that to Terrence Howard and Edward Norton. If there is a catchphrase for the Marvel Disney financial team, it's accountants assemble. If Disney executives read a draft of a Daredevil script in which the Kingpin stole $50 million, the note would be to try and get it down to $20 million and make the robbery take place in Canada. The super soldier formula that gave birth to Captain America was not easily created. There was much trial and error by Dr. Abraham Erskine. Disney scientists are equally hard at work to try and create the star-free hit. The Spider-Man reboot is one of these experiments. Don't get me wrong, if the Avengers rakes it in, of course, Disney Marvel will want to continue its success. They are only so stupid. However, their main goal in continuing the franchise will be how to do so without having to pay Robert Downey Jr. Oh, there'll be another Avengers movie, but let's face it, it will star the cast of Wizards of Waverly Place, who will all be thrilled to be paid Guild plus 10.